everyone, and welcome back to lesson 3. Now, this week we've been talking about time. We started with sequencing and then we were looking at days and months and dates. Today we're going to start looking at clocks. So there's some new words that we have to learn before we start. So a clock is a thing we use to tell the time. On a clock, there are two hands. Now, I don't mean hands like our hands. The hands are the parts of the clock that move around. There are two hands, a long hand that we call the minute hand, and a short hand that we call the hour hand. So how many hands are there? Two. Very good. Then we have hours. So hours are a unit of time. There are 24 hours in a day and there are 12 hours on a clock. So just like we were talking the other day, there are 12 hours on the clock. So every day the clock goes around twice. Minutes is a unit of time smaller than an hour. There are 60 minutes in an hour. And seconds is a unit of time smaller than a minute. There are 60 seconds in a minute. So 60 seconds make a minute, 60 minutes make an hour, and 24 hours make a day. So can you remember how many numbers are there on a clock's face? 12. Very good. I'm going to show you now how we would draw a clock. So when we have a clock, we always start it with a circle. We have to then draw the numbers. So on a clock, does anyone know the number that goes at the very, very top? The number that goes at the very top, it's not number 1, it is 12. So at the top, we always put the number 12. Now, instead of going around and doing all the numbers in a circle, it's easier to do the number at the top, 12, and the number at the very bottom, which is 6. And that 12 and 6 are going to be very important numbers when we're learning to tell the time. We have 12 at the top and 6 at the bottom. Then on the right of the clock, we will put the number 3. And on the left of the clock, we will put the number 9. Now my writing is a little bit messy because I'm doing it with my computer, but I know when you do yours later on, it will be much neater. So now that we've done the top, the bottom, the left and the right, we can start filling in our other numbers. So let's start at 1. So we have to make sure the numbers are the same amount apart from each other. So here we have 1, 2, then we have 3 already, so we'll put 4, 5, and we have 6 already, so let's put 7, 8, we have 9 already, so let's put 10, and lastly 11, and we have 12 already. There. So after we've done our numbers, we need to find the middle between 6 and 12, and we're going to just put a small dot. Okay? So that is how we write our numbers on our clock. So let's check. Have we got all of the numbers from 1 up till 12? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yes, we do. Have I got 12 at the top? Yes. Have I got 6 at the bottom? Yes. Have I got 3 on the right? Yes. And have I got 9 on the left? Yes. So my clock is in the correct order. Every clock that you see will always have 12 at the top and 6 at the bottom and have the numbers in this order. So here is a clock with the numbers on it already. So our first thing we're going to look at today is what do the numbers on the clock mean? So each of these numbers means 1 hour. Each of the numbers means 1 hour. So remember we were talking about hands. Can you see the 2 hands on the clock? Look at the circle that we drew in the middle of 12 and 6. Can you see that there are 2 hands joined to this circle now? We have the long hand, which is the minute hand, and we have the short hand, which is the hour hand. What number is the long hand pointing to? 12, very good. What hand is the short hand what number is the short hand pointing to? The short hand is pointing to 9. Well done. So, when the big hand is pointing to 12, we call this the o'clock. When the big hand is at 12, we call this the o'clock. When we know it's the o'clock, we have to then see what the short hand is pointing to. The short hand is pointing to 9. So which o'clock do you think it is? That's right, it is 9 o'clock. So the numbers tell us which o'clock it is. If the big hand was at 12 and the small hand was at 10, what o'clock would it be? That's right, it would be 10 o'clock. If the small hand was at 4, it would be 4 o'clock. So these numbers tell us which hour it is. So what do the hands on the clock mean? We've already covered that a bit. The big hand shows us the minute and the small hand shows us the hour. So 12 numbers are shown on the clock. Does this mean there's 12 hours in a day? Well, we've already covered this. There are 12 hours on a clock, but we know that the clock goes all the way around 2 times in a day, and 12 plus 12 equals 24. So there's 24 hours in a day, but there are only 12 hours on a clock. So for today's task, I want you to create your own clock. So I'm going to give you a template, but you can just make sure if you're drawing a circle, make sure it's a proper circle. Use a plate or use a cup or something to help you draw the circle. You can just do it on a piece of paper. Or if you have a paper plate in your home, you can draw on the paper plate to make a clock. That's a really good one because it's already in a circle shape. So you're going to create your clock. I want you to make sure that you have the numbers in the correct position. So 12 at the top and 6 at the bottom, 3 on the right and 9 on the left, and all of the other numbers in the correct place. I want you to make a minute hand, the long hand, and to make an hour hand, the short hand. Now with these hour hand and minute hand, I don't want you to just draw them on the clock. I want you to put them on the clock so that you are able to move them around, because in tomorrow's lesson we are going to have some times and I want you to be able to show me them. So when you make your clock, you're going to need to make sure that your hands can move around. So maybe you could use a pin or maybe you could use some blue tack, but don't draw them just on the clock because then you won't be able to move them. So if you've when you've created your clock, if you can take a picture of your clock, you holding your clock, and put it onto your Class Dojo portfolio. And you will need your clocks for tomorrow's lesson, so keep them safe. I hope you've enjoyed today's lesson, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.